Would Jesus stand for the Pledge of Allegiance or pledges allegiance to America?
That's good. I think we can pledge allegiance to a country or a family or a people group in good conscience, but we should not worship that flag or that people group in a good conscience. And I think that's where I would draw the line. So my answer is yes. I think that Jesus could pledge allegiance to a country, a group of people that he's going to say, hey, I'm loyal to. I'll submit to the laws here. I'll be a part of the governance here. I'll even be proud of my people and my heritage that's in this location, but not worship that. And some people will note that, I don't remember how many years ago, maybe 5 years ago, we moved our American flags out of the worship center and into other locations for that very reason, that flags are a good representation of our country. It's good for us to salute, pledge allegiance to, respect, but not worship, and so they don't belong in a worship venue. And I would say that there are people for whom that is a really fuzzy line. And I'd encourage them to say, get some good definition on what the line is there between those two. There are people who will marry their devotion to the United States and their devotion to Jesus and say that the United States really is Jesus' representative in this world. And they'll oftentimes point to, like the Declaration of Independence was signed by a whole bunch of pastors. And the worldview of the people who put together our Constitution really was Christian, and they're right on both of those points. But the step they make it to is that means that not just that we are founded on Christian principles or founded by Christians, it means that we are a Christian nation and that we are the representation of God. And I think when you get to that point, you're getting to dangerous ground, because the truth is the United States has done some amazing things in this world, and we've got some checkered pieces of our past that we need to be sober about in our understanding of who we are and even who we are currently and the kinds of things that we're doing right now, that we are not God's representative to this world. But the more that we can reflect the kingdom of God and his values and the goodness of God, that's something that we should aspire to as people who are in this culture. So I would say get those lenses much more clear and say, hey, it's Jesus first and Jesus worshipped. It's a country that I can be loyal to, can be a part of transforming, can be deeply engaged in and bring the kingdom in. But the country is not the kingdom. The kingdom is transcendent of country and people and language and grouping.
Well, and even Jesus said he was ushering in a new kingdom, but yet he was a part of a kingdom, an actual kingdom. I think Matthew 22, he talks about give to Caesar what's Caesar's, give to God what is God's. And he's talking about this living in two different worlds, these two separate kingdoms, and our loyalty, ultimately the one he's bringing, the kingdom he's bringing. But he's like, but also give to Caesar what's Caesar's, inside of that. I think another just resource for somebody that's maybe wrestling through some of those things is we had Jim Ratty, who was our executive pastor here, high level in the church, but before that, super high level in the government. And so we had a conversation with him a few weeks ago just about, man, what does that look like? Somebody that pledges allegiance to both of those and has deep respect, patriotism, yet also a deep, trust in the kingdom of God, and that's what he's bringing with his life. So it's just a fascinating conversation, I think, that goes along with that. Does God select our president? That's the next question.
It's interesting that in the Psalms it talks about how God causes the raising and falling of leaders everywhere, and how God holds the heart of the king in his hands, and he will move his heart like he moves mighty waters. And so there is a sense of God's sovereignty over everything, which would include Biden, Trump, Hitler, Nebuchadnezzar, Ho Chi Minh, I mean, you name it, good guys, bad guys, none of it escapes the sovereignty of God. And there may be times where we go, I'm very confused by this selection and the impact that it has on the world. But we need to know that God is sovereign and powerful behind all of those things. Does God select it? I think it fits in the category of predestination and free will, that there is a mysterious interplay between God's choice and human choice and free will. And will he allow humans, particularly in a democratically elected place, in a sin-stained world, to be able to select somebody who is a worse candidate, somebody who's a sinner in rebellion from God? I think that that's possible because we have free will. but nothing escapes the notice of God. Nothing is outside of the power of God. And God is never up in heaven wringing his hands saying, oh my goodness, I'm nervous about what's going to happen next. He knows all of these things, and we can have confidence because he has confidence.